Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On today's video I'm gonna be changing the thermostat housing on an Audi A4. This is a 2012 Audi, and basically I have a fault code that indicates the thermostat housing is stuck, and as a result the engine light is come on. Now the part we're talking about here, it's basically this here. This is the thermostat housing. It's operated electronically, and it has a tendency of getting stuck. But also I have been looking online, and many of these have also a tendency to leak. They leak from this area here, and that's where the water pump goes. Now this is so this is the water pump here. So apparently it leaks coolant from here. It's like a minor leak, but it does leak. So I never actually changed one of these on an Audi. We never really had a problem with one of these, but then again, it happens with all parts. So the thing is, this is brand new from Audi. We got that from Audi themselves, and we got this from Audi as well. This was all sold together. Now what they told me is that if you buy only the thermostat housing, they don't offer you a warranty, which sounded a little bit strange. Nevertheless, since they said this tends to leak, we thought we might as well go ahead and change the whole thing together, because it's quite a bit of a laborious to get to change that thermostat housing. So you might as well change the pump while you're at it. Otherwise, if you discover that's leaking, then you're gonna have to leave your job and go and get one of these, and or that will start leaking later, and then you have to do the whole thing again. So all of that comes together, and also this little part here, which goes into the intercooler. So it's 3 parts that come together. It's the part number here. That's what I got. And the water pump actually came in a different box, but if you're gonna get that anyway, you'll give them your registration number or whatever and chassis, and then they will get you the correct part for your car. So we're gonna start by draining the coolant, and then we're going to tackle the millions of hoses that connect to this thermostat housing. Who would have thought this would get so complicated? Well, it looks complicated, but maybe it's very efficient in comparison to an old car that only has one hose coming out of it and one hose going in. So that sounds simple, but this is all computer operated these days, and I don't know if it's worse or better, but obviously technology moves towards electronic things these days. So let's start and tackle this job. Oh, and by the way, all of this was around 320 pounds, something like that. The most expensive bit is this. This is about 250, I think, plus VAT, and the pump was about 90, something like that. So all in is around 350 or something. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so this is the car here. Petrol, automatic, is this Audi 2012, and as you can see, it's a very nice summery day today. Just turning into spring yesterday, I think. So make the most of the nice days. So we're gonna start by, we want to drain the coolant, so I have to get the car up and drain the coolant from underneath, and then we're gonna have to take this cover out. I already unplugged it. It's just plugged into these rubber mounts there, 4 of them, into these pins here. But just be careful, it can be a little bit hard to pull it out, so just be careful when you're doing it. Do it slowly. And the part we're trying to get to is sitting right inside of there. Obviously also better do it when the car is cold, so you're not gonna get hot pipes that you need to disconnect. We're gonna remove the throttle body. Don't think I need to remove the alternator, but it could give us a lot more room to change the part. I was even considering taking this out. Obviously there are some videos out there already showing you how to do it, in which they don't remove this or the alternator. Some other videos maybe do remove the alternator and makes things easier, but I guess it really depends how much time you have. But at the end of the day, any jobs that you're gonna do that involve a fair amount of work, maybe you should take your time so you can patiently do the whole thing and you do it properly. So otherwise you have to do everything twice if we try to shortcut things. Whereas if you do it at once properly, then it's just one time. So let's get the car up, drain the coolant. I'm gonna remove this as well for ease of access as well. And you're gonna need coolant, which I think this car takes a G12 antifreeze. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so looking at the car from underneath, I'm going to remove this cover in order to access the drain plug so we can drain the coolant. So this is just held in by a few Phillips screws. I already removed quite a number of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. Just use this one, and then you can kind of slide this cover. I have another one here. There's one, and probably one more here. Okay. Move that cover out. So looking up here, we have this little drain tip there, and this, we can open this and drain. So I'm just gonna maybe put a hose there so I can catch the coolant. Okay, so I just got a hose there in order to, so I can direct the coolant into that container there. It's not really to save it, it's just mainly to avoid a mess. So I'm going to open this little valve here. Sometimes it can be a little bit stuck, so you can use one of these. Okay, so for some reason there's no coolant coming out of there, so I'm gonna try to drain it from this point here. This is just the sensor there, so I might not be able to avoid the mess if it comes out rushing out. Take that little clip out, which is a little bit corroded. So I'm just gonna do that with my two hands and drain that coolant. So I'm just gonna let that drain a little bit. Luckily it's not making a tremendous mess there. It's coming out pretty straight. And then I'm gonna lower the car and we can start tackling the changing of the thermostat. Okay, so next we're gonna remove this little tank here. Gonna put it on the side. For that, gonna disconnect this hose. Just get this clip up a little bit, so then you can pull the hose out. Just carefully. Try not to break anything. Same with this one. Okay. Can pull this, well, two hands better. And also we're going to undo these 10mm nuts, put them on one side, and after that we'll be able to lift this up. So I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect that. Okay, disconnect this electrical connection here. And we can also disconnect this pipe so we can get this out of the way. There's just the same kind of clip as this one. There might be some more coolant coming out of here, or even when we remove the thermostat. So just make sure you have your container underneath to catch any more coolant coming out of these pipes. Okay, get your coolant expansion tank to one side, and also this hose, just put it to one side, out of the way. So I'm going to attempt to just change it without removing the alternator. If you have to remove the alternator, then we'll do it in due course. So now I'm gonna disconnect this hose here. This is connected to the throttle body, as well as obviously there's gonna be quite a few sensors we need to disconnect. This one is just a matter of pressing the clip and pulling it out. Try to get all connections out of the way. So I'm just using the screwdriver here to help me push this down a bit. Not one of the easiest hoses to move. Okay, so I got a T30 Torx bit here to remove the throttle body. The bolts holding that throttle body are sort of that angle there. There's 4 of them. Okay, so the 4th one here around the back might be a little bit difficult to get to unless we get this hose out first. So let's remove that hose, and the same type of clip holding that hose. Just pull the clip out a little bit, and then we can get that hose out, and hopefully it won't be too stuck, but it might be stuck. Okay, that wasn't too bad, it just came out, but my little clip came out flying as well, so just have to find that now. So make sure you don't lose those clips, because you definitely need them, and that's what usually happens. They tend to sometimes fly out of the hole. So luckily I spotted it just now, so I'm gonna maybe just put it back in there. Okay, now I'm gonna get that hose out of the way as well. Slowly getting a better view of the area. And now I can get to that throttle body bolt. Put the these screws bolts together with the throttle body so you know where they go. Things to disconnect, cables and pipes. Don't know if I can go a little bit closer in here. We have another hose here, coolant hose. Again, I'm gonna pull that clip. And disconnect the hose. Okay. And we have another hose here. These electrical cables here, we can disconnect them so we can have better room. So we have one here just connected to the alternator. Disconnect that, then they're mounted on these brackets, so we can take that out, and this one as well. And there's another connection down here. That plug in there is basically it's like one of these here. So you have to pull the gray part out, and then you're able to press the clip and release it basically. So pull it down and press it. That's what I need to do with that one down there. So that's what I'm trying to do just now with this one here. Okay, removing this one was a little bit of a pain in the neck. The clip was a little bit stuck. This gray part was a little bit stuck, so on trying to pull it down I broke one side. You can see the little corner there. Clip still there, but eventually I managed to get it to go down with this. So that was I don't know why this is so hard, but even trying to close it is hard. Right, well, never mind. I managed to get it down. Okay, there we are. By putting this in here and bringing it down, basically. It's even hard like that. That's why I struggle. But eventually it did go down, so I was able to remove it, because once this is down you can press that, which then opens that bit there. Anyway, let's get this out of the way. Right, also just be careful if you remove your throttle body, this little gasket here that belongs up there. Okay, now I'm gonna disconnect this hose. Let's get some extra light in here. Clip. Carefully we'll pull this hose out. These things can be a little bit stubborn, for sure. So just take your time. Okay. More coolant coming out of there. And one of the reasons we do this when the engine is cold is because all that coolant, if it was hot, it could be definitely quite burning hot. Okay, can disconnect that, get it out of the way. Okay, also I'm going to remove this little bar here. It looks like this might be a 13 as well. This other 13 mil, I'm gonna put it back on the alternator, so again I know where it came from. And then this bar here, also we need to disconnect it from down there. Well, undo this bolt here, which uses that special type of star type of socket. Okay, let's get that one out. It's gonna be using one of these, and that is a M10. So we can also remove this cable. So I just pushed all the wiring back there, keep it out of our way. And also maybe we could take this bit out here, because that holds these connections in place, but it's just a little bit on the way as well. So if we take that out, it's gonna give us a bit more room. These ratchets are very handy because the head moves. You're able to put it at different angles as you need it. It's made by Worth, and it is pretty good from that point of view. This here is a little bit annoying. We could always remove that as well. I think that might be looking like a T40 as well. So let's take that out. Okay. Maybe we can move this a little bit out of the way. Okay, I got it a little bit out of the way there. It's mainly so we can get to the back of this area here. So this is the thermostat. and basically there is a put that up there. There is a cover here we want to remove. It's held in by this again, it's probably a T30. I think it's only 2 or 3 of them that we need to undo. In order to get that cover out, because behind this cover there's a belt, a little belt that runs the pump. Okay, so here's only those 2 that I need to remove. So you can take this little cover out. So only this one and that one. Okay, so now we can loosen the thermostat housing so there's going to be a few of them. I don't think there's that many, but there is 2 more of those bolts underneath. So there's one down here. Find where these are. So it's actually 1, 2, 3, it's about 5 of them. And the other one is right here. Now all of them are out. Now we can remove this housing. So still some more coolant coming out of there. Not a lot, but a little bit. And now we can hopefully wiggle this whole thing out of here. Okay, that's the whole thing out. Quite a large part, to be honest. Now the gasket has remained in there, and I'm pretty sure we have a new gasket on the new part. Yes, so don't forget to remove that little gasket, because you don't want to put the new one on top of this one. That's going to create a huge leak. Now, the little pipe has remained in there. Just want to take it out. There we are. That's the one. The diameter of this looks exactly the same on this side that it is on this side, so I don't think it matters which way it goes. So also we have a new part of this. Now I'm just going to clean the area a little bit, dry the water there, and also clean the surface where the new thermostat will sit, and then we can start the refitting process. Okay, so I'm just preparing the new part to go in. This came separate, as I mentioned before, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of multi-purpose grease around this gasket, this rubber gasket. Not a lot, just a little bit. That allows it to sort of accommodate better when it's sitting on this surface, because grease helps the obviously lubrication helps a little bit better when fitting things or things that, you know, slide in and out kind of thing. So then we can put this back in. These two are not there because these two are for the cover. These are gonna be T40s, as we already know. Now I haven't got torque settings, but these are not going to be in that tight. They're just gonna be like anything between 10 and 15 Newton meters for this. So just be careful not to over tighten these. If you have a torque wrench, I don't know, set it to 9 or 10 Newton meters and see how you go. But these are practically they're only going into this plastic cover that has some little metal bits inside. But easy to damage, so don't damage it. Be very gentle. I mean, I could easily press on that, but I'm not even. That's why sometimes I hold it from here, from the head of the wrench, which then is not going to allow me to over tighten this at all. Right there is, I can't even turn it. But obviously if I grab the wrench from here, I can carry on turning this forever until I break it, and that's what we want to avoid. Okay, next gonna fit this bit here again. I'm gonna put a bit of grease there. So I just got grease on both ends. This is just a multi-purpose grease, nothing special. And I can push that in there. that went in very easily in there. Didn't have to apply a lot of pressure or anything because of the grease. So this grease here is also going to help us put it into the intercooler easily. And also I'm gonna put a little bit of multi-purpose grease around that gasket. Okay, I cleaned the surface. I just rubbed it down with a bit of emery paper. Make sure there's no, because there was a bit of corrosion forming at the top. So I just want to get rid of that, so obviously leaks don't appear in the future. And just dry the area a little bit, because obviously the whole thing got coolant around. But now pretty much ready to put this back in there. You could apply a little bit of grease around these areas as well, because then it will be easier to push your hoses in here. So I may just do that once I have this in there. I'll apply a little bit of grease around here, because if I do it now, I'm just gonna mess the whole thing while I'm grabbing it and stuff. I'm gonna put grease everywhere, so I don't really want to do that. That's where that electrical plug goes in, the one that I struggle to remove a little bit. And this is it. Time to go in. This little cover here, I'm gonna leave it there for now. I'm just gonna remove it once I'm fitting the belt. It just protects the little impeller there, or propeller, whatever you want to call it, the little thing that moves the water. So let's start to refit this. Okay, so the first bit I'm gonna push to one side is the little hose into the intercooler. Just make sure there's no wires getting trapped behind. Okay, something I forgot to mention. When you're refitting this, so this is the old one, there are two little guide pins, one there and one there. You just need to make sure you match the little guide pins to those two holes, because otherwise it will take a little while to try and fit the housing. So, because if you're trying to push the housing up or down, those pins are there and it doesn't let you move it. So you have to pull it out a little bit and then make sure the pins are in place. They're only tiny little pins sticking out, but But once you match them, you'll be able to fit the housing. It's not really that difficult. Right. So they will, these screws will match once you get them in the correct place. Okay, so I've tightened all of the little screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them. Those of the housing, obviously of the thermostat housing. I don't think those will be tightened to more than 25 Newton meters or so. I mean between 15 and 20 Newton meters. So I use a small ratchet to tighten them so I don't overdo it. And now I'm gonna fit this belt back in. So I'm just gonna remove this little cover now. And I have basically, I got the gearbox in neutral because this is an automatic, but obviously if you have a manual, make sure it's in neutral because we're going to need to rotate the engine a little bit. I got a 24mm socket in the center of that bolt at the bottom of the crankshaft with that there. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit in order to get some that belt in. Basically, that's the idea. While I rotate it, I'm going to try to get this in there basically. So while we rotate the engine, we can just push that little belt in. Otherwise it's a little bit hard to literally pull it up into there. So, like I said, I use a 24mm to rotate the engine, and then with my hand put some pressure on the belt while it rotates. It went in. Now we can refit this cover. That little cover protects that little belt. That's all the way in, nicely locked in place. I think that's our oil pressure sensor there. So if you don't plug it in, you're gonna get an oil pressure light coming on. So again, I'm just using a small ratchet here to tighten this up. Don't want to damage or break anything. These are quite delicate, so if you have a small ratchet, it doesn't allow you to put too much force, obviously. The connections, the cables, and this one as well. This one just slides in there like so, and then we have to secure it. Maybe I'm just going to run the wires back here. Pull this hose as well. Next, we can connect some of our wiring. So I'm going to reconnect this one right at the bottom onto the electronic thermostat. Push that in until it clicks, and then push the little gray bit in the middle. We can reconnect this alternator cable. Okay, these cables go up here. Can unite them again. Make sure they close properly. Alright, until they click, basically. And push them back into the mount. So now I'm just gonna put a little bit of multi-purpose grease around these tubes. Like I said, that's just gonna help them slide in nicely without any dramas. Okay, so we can start pushing some of those hoses in. Possibly I can start with the one right at the bottom here. And they can only go in one way. Right. And they will clip in. So you can just have these metal clips back in place. Then we have this other one. There we are. And also I'm just gonna push this cable into the little mounts I removed them from. So that one went in there. And this other one, the other one was up on the bar that I have to fit here. So let's just push this hose in there as well. Okay, that's clicked in, so make sure they click in so you know they're nice and secure. Then we can fit this bar as well. Just gonna tighten the 13 mil here. This goes in there. This goes in here. Just make sure it clicks in. And this is the one that goes into the throttle body. So all the hoses are in, everything is in, cables are connected, nuts and bolts are tight. Now we can refit our throttle body. So before I refit the throttle body, I just gave it a wipe in here, a bit of a clean with some carburetor cleaner. Just take the opportunity to do that. And also make sure this surface here is nice and clean. I'm going to clean this now as well, but I just want to mention that because the gasket is going to sit around here. I'm also going to put a little grease around here, but make sure this surface is clean so you don't have any air leaks. Okay, nice and clean. Just going to give it a bit of grease. One thing I forgot is to access one of the throttle body bulbs. That one of the pipes is better if it's off. Okay, with that pipe off, it'll be a lot easier to get this throttle body in and also the bolt in. Okay, so practically we finish everything here. Everything is plugged in, everything is secured. All the sensors are plugged in, all the hoses are in, so I'm just putting in some coolant in there. So just now literally I only filled this up. So I mean, we're gonna need to run the engine now until it's hot, until all the coolant circulates, the thermostat opens, and then we're going to be able obviously to get rid of any air that may be in the system. And that's what I'm going to do next, really. I'm going to start running the engine. Okay, so I'm just going to get the car started. Okay, so while that's happening, gonna have to wait a little bit really. Engine goes up and the coolant starts circulating, and also I'm going to connect the computer, and we're gonna see the original fault code that was there. The reason we changed the thermostat, because also that caused the engine light to be on, as you can see. So I have to clear that engine light as well. And the other thing is I need to make sure you put the heating inside the car on full hot, because that's gonna make sure you are running. Now it's saying coolant is needed, so I'm gonna have to monitor the coolant as well as we go along and top it up as necessary. And we have to wait as well for hot air to come out of obviously of these vents. That way we're gonna know we're not gonna run out of we're getting rid of any air bubbles. And also monitor the temperature of the engine. You don't want it to overheat. So I'm gonna get the computer now. Okay, so while we're running the engine, like I said, coolant is gonna start dropping, so make sure you top it up. I got my antifreeze already mixed here. I mixed the 50-50. Now, to be honest, I mixed the 70% antifreeze, 30% water. So that's what I'm going to be putting in here, as I already have. And also monitor the temperature, and also you can check, make sure there's no leaks, any obvious coolant leaks that could be dripping underneath. So we don't want to have obviously any coolant disappearing under the car. So that's something you can check. No, I can't see any coolant. And the air here is still cold. Temperature is about 90. I'm just revving the car a little bit so it hurries, it gets warmer a little bit faster. Control modules, engine electronics. Okay, read fault codes. Okay, so this is the other fault codes here will be related to the fact that I disconnected obviously quite a few sensors, but the original fault code here was, I think it was this one here, the 2681. Engine coolant bypass passive valve control circuit open. So the rest here, turbocharger and this throttle sensor and so on, are related to all the cables that were disconnected from the car. So this here is the original fault code. So now I'm gonna delete that, and that should delete the engine light. So ideally what we need is right, I've got that left. Oh yes, I know why I have that. It's because I disconnected the camshaft sensor in order to get my wrench to the crankshaft. This is exactly what happens and how sometimes one can forget certain things. So there we are. Coolant still going a little bit down. Not so much now. Top that up a little bit. I'm going to delete that now. Okay, no fault codes. Right, so now it's a matter of making sure we get hot air in here, and also making sure thermostat opens and is working. Perhaps the fan comes in, coolant fan, so that may take a little while. So I'm just going to do that and carry on the video as we go along. Also, just another thing, if you're gonna rev the car like I am revving the car, make sure you close the expansion tank, because as you rev the car, the water may start coming out of the expansion tank. So I'm just gonna rev it, but I already closed it because I could see a little bit of water coming out. So before it starts coming out in large amounts, it's better to close it. I can start feeling the hot air coming out of here now, so we need to give it a bit more time. The coolant warning is also disappeared there, so we'll carry on. Okay, the air in here is getting really nice and hot now, which is what we want. Temperature is at 90, so it's not overheating or anything like that. And I had a bit of coolant obviously spilling out of here when that was open. Coolant is gone down a little bit. It's in the minimum at the moment. To be honest, I'm still waiting for the fans to switch on to see exactly how far this goes down. But I need the fans to come on in order to for the coolant to go around the radiator and whatnot, so we can have the proper level here. So I'm gonna leave it running. I may need to carry on revving it a little bit until those fans come on, but in the meantime I'm gonna get the car up again, and I'm just going to put the cover back on, but also check underneath if there's any coolant leaks, any coolant coming down. Basically, I know there will be some on this end because some spilled out from here, so it will be some on that end. Basically there shouldn't be any coolant leaking from the engine side of things. So I'm gonna get the car up now. Okay, so I can't see any coolant leaking from up there, apart from obviously the obvious that would be a bit wet there, because when we removed the original thermostat housing, some coolant came down, which is expected. So these areas, all of this is a little bit wet. this pink here, that is coolant that was dripping before. So that's not from now. That's one of the signs how you can tell you have a coolant leak from somewhere. And we had a coolant leak on this car from the expansion tank, which I replaced. You can also see the coolant, the pinkish look of coolant that was accumulated around here. You can just about see all that there. But you will see that as well if you have a slight leak from the housing of the thermostat housing. You will see the pinkish, which, to be honest, I can see a little bit of pink up there. So it's a possibility that that housing was already starting to leak, because we had the expansion tank was a little bit on the lower end last week, and I can see some of the coolant formation up there. But now I can't see any coolant dripping, which is good news. So I'm gonna put the cover back here, and that's one of the things you want to make sure, obviously, after you've done this kind of job, you want to make sure you haven't got any recurrent leaks or anything like that, because otherwise either you need to tighten those thermostat bolts a little bit more, or even the could be on the side of the water pump. So I'm gonna put the cover back on and lower the car now. So far so good. Just gonna open this cap. The engine is very hot now, so obviously if you're gonna open this cap, be very careful when opening it, in case there's any pressure. Doesn't jump on your face. I'm gonna top that up a little bit. Fill up the max. That a little bit more than max. I'm sure it will go down a little bit anyway. I mean, the radiator, the fan still hasn't come on really, and that's something I'm waiting to come. The engine a little bit more. The air inside of here is really nice and warm now. But we just wanna get that fan going, because then we know thermostat is open and the coolant is going all around the engine and the radiator, and is circulating properly. So that's what we want. Also, you can check for any faults while I have the engine running, if anything is come up or formed. Always monitoring the temperature. So just waiting for those coolant fans to come on. Okay, so those coolant fans have come on. Both of them are on. That's what I was waiting for. That means the thermostat has opened. We've let the coolant go through the radiator. This is dropped a little bit to the max. That's basically where we want it. So basically I think we're pretty much done here. I'm just thinking you can have a last check. Well, I need to get this on the right mounts there. You can just make sure there's no coolant escaping anywhere, coming down. And tomorrow I will do a test drive of the car. Make sure in the morning, check this again. It may drop a little bit, so you can top it up to the max. And I'm just gonna make sure there's no fault codes here, but always monitor temperature, as I said. If it goes up or anything happens, you make sure you switch off the car. If it starts going above 90, because that means there might be too much air trapped in the engine that can quickly rise to overheating and could damage the engine. But that's not always, that doesn't really always happen. It can happen, but okay, so I'm just gonna quickly check for fault codes in here. Okay, so I'm still getting this fault code. I don't really know why. Okay, so that's the fault code. Okay, so in the end, I use VCDs to delete the fault code regarding the coolant shutoff valve. So now no fault codes have come back, which is good news. But what I had to do is basically I had to actually use the VCDs and delete whatever fault codes, all the fault codes, the entire fault codes of the car, because sometimes there is another fault code that generates another fault code, so it doesn't let you delete it basically. So in the end I had to use these VCDs to do it. But hopefully this video helps if you're trying to sort out that issue as well, and also show you how to replace obviously the water pump and the thermostat housing if they are leaking. So having said that, hope this video helps. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.